drive on him.
This is twice now the Celtics have been first to the floor. They try to
Save with Horford. Unbelievable.
Boston first to the floor. So good.
Brown fakes, fires up the three. Bang! Tatum dives on the floor. Everybody dives. Jaylen Brown with the flush. Blocked by Porzingis. He's doing it all. Tatum spinning, driving, laying. Washington drives. Blocked by White. Oh, what a block from Derek White.
Welcome in, first to the floor, Ben Vallis here, along with Wayne Spooney and Jake Eisenberg. Finally, some Celtics basketball after what felt like eons of time passing by, and also, you may have heard, it's our 500th episode. Woo! Jake, Spooney, how we doing, guys?
Great,
very
man.
Nice of the Celtics to hook us up with the W on our 500th episode. I mean, statistically, it was likely that the 500th episode was going to line up with a win just because they are mostly wins.
Yes.
This
Yeah,
day and
true.
age, which is really, really nice.
Yeah, not just a win. This was a good old-fashioned ass whooping. Like, they just fucking smashed Detroit. It was a lot of fun to watch. And I think Peyton Pritchard is Steph Curry. I don't know. He's getting there.
If Steph Curry was a better playmaker,
Right,
a
yeah,
better
and defender, yeah.
Better
exactly,
all-around guy.
an elite offensive rebounder for his size and position, then sure. Then Steph Curry can maybe aspire to be as good as Peyton Pritchard
One day.
Yeah.
That's probably a good place to start with the game. A little rusty, like to begin with, on both ends. A couple of blown rotations. I saw there was one transition defensive possession for the Celtics where like Al and JB like failed to pick up their guy in transition, like weird stuff. But then we get the thing we all love very, very much, the PP insertion. And then suddenly turns everything around. Sparks are flying, romance on the court, and Peyton Pritchard goes 7 for 15 from 3, good for 46.7%. 10 assists as well. I don't know if that's a career high in assists for Pritchard. It's got to be up there or close. And of course, it's 27 points as well. And it was just like a wizard. He was a sorcerer. He was making guys like disappear in front of him with his dribble and like just getting around them. It was insane to watch.
Spoody, you posted the clip of him cooking in the pick and roll where he manipulated Paul. I know it's Paul Reed and I know it's the Pistons, but still, dude, like those are NBA players, and this dude put up 27 and 10 with one turnover. Guy's unreal right now.
It's absolutely nuts. Like, and I feel like those 10 assists, except for really the last one, but they were like true. Yeah. I'm working to pass the guy open, not just like, it's swing, and I've got it, and then I kick one more swing to Derek White and he buries a three. He had a couple, like he had a filthy little dime to Luke Cornett where he like got all the way to the baseline, drew two, and somehow slipped it in between. And that the pick and roll manipulation of the big
he slips
dude.
it in between, man.
He's
Boy.
always
Yes, he
just sliding into those cracks. And I just checked his career high, Ben. You were spot on. It's 12. So not much more than 10. So he was right there.
Spot on.
13.
Spot on. We don't have to lie to Ben. He wasn't spot on.
I was like, that's very generous, but yeah. Thank you. It's been a while since I've been on the show with you guys, so I appreciate you taking it easy at least, Spoody.
Well, it's fair. I mean, like it's not like 17 or something like that.
Sure.
C-Gamer says 13. I don't know. Fucking StatMuse says
whatever,
12. Yeah, StatMuse says 12, which I should never trust StatMuse. But anyway, he was awesome. These threes are just absurd. The things he's getting to go in.
The key point. Peyton Pritchard was awesome, and just the quality of the 3-point shots that the Celtics were getting were like a night and day better than that of the Pistons. But then there's Peyton Pritchard operating on another level who like doesn't need good shot quality to like get his shot off at a high efficiency clip as well. But like he'll just pull up like right in the face of the big who switched onto him. I pop one in the face of Isaiah Stewart, Beef Stew, early in the game. Like doesn't matter who's defending him, their proximity to him, or how late in the shot clock, how poor of a look it is, it's always a chance of going in when it's Peyton Pritchard shooting. And having a guy like that on your team is incredibly exciting. He's now apparently the crowd favorite in Boston, which is crazy. Like you can hear the crowd pop when he checks in. And I just, always had high hopes for Peyton Pritchard, but I wasn't necessarily sure that we were always going to get to that point. But now just like the legend of Pritchard is like bubbling up through the city of Boston, and it's apparent on the faces of everyone in the crowd. It's amazing.
Wow, I didn't hear this on the broadcast, but apparently Abby said that Pritchard made his 500th career three-pointer tonight. So
Hey,
Thank
I
you.
mean,
Yes.
it's meant to be. There's so many crowd favorites now. It's like KP has a special connection. Obviously, like JT and Jalen. Everybody loves Al Horford. Like, there's so much love from the TD Garden to the Celtics right now. It's incredible. And on Pritchard, someone on Twitter today described him as a workhorse. And when you think about workhorse in the NBA, think of kind of like bigger, stronger players that can affect the game defensively and physically. But I actually think it's a really, really good way to describe Pritchard because he is constantly applying pressure. And Joe Tiddy, 500th episode, important to call out. One of his favorite things is constantly applying pressure, and that applies to the offensive end as well. Whether it's having to guard Pritchard from a spacing perspective out to and beyond the TD Garden logo now, the way that he's now operating in the pick and roll, he's always playing fast. He's always trying to grab an offensive rebound. Every second he's out there, he's making sure that he's impacting the game in whatever way that he can. So I thought workhorse. I mean, he's a wombat, but he's a workhorse wombat.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. The workhorse wombat. Yeah. It's a new breed. I actually think it was Jason Bateman here in the chat who said that on your
yes,
quote,
it was.
Jake. Yeah. Yeah. So shout out to Jason Bateman. Awesome name. Yeah, man. He had one step back where he I think it was on Paul Reed again. He puts his shoulder into Paul Reed. He's at the free throw line, takes one dribble and steps back 9 feet somehow and buries the three. That is nutty self-creation stuff that I feel like we've all been pretty high on Pritchard basically his whole career. He's just at a level of self-creation that I just did not think was possible. And part of it's because, he's standing on the friggin' TD logo and just looking at the defender, you're going to give me 5 feet from here? Okay, I'll bury this 30-footer. So that helps. But what he's doing off the bounce is just, it's nutty, dude. There's not a lot of dudes in the NBA who can create a shot like that.
It completely changes, how we were getting annoyed about Jared McCain and how the Sixers drafted him, and the fact that you draft someone like that kind of can really change the outlook of your roster because finding rookies in the middle of the draft or the first round, one for the contract, to change how you're able to construct your roster, it has such a profound impact. And they've kind of done that with Pritchard. One, he was obviously drafted at 26th overall, but the fact that they signed him to this contract, now you have this guy and he's taken this leap, and we've been talking about Drew Holiday or whatever the roster looks like post having to pay the giant tax bill and how it changes. Having him on your team, having him take this leap makes you feel so much better about what this team will look like going forward. This dude's just going to, drop 27, 4, and 10 on fucking 15 three-point attempts. He made 7 of them today, dude.
So good, dude.
It's unbelievable.
4 years, $30 million. He feels criminally underpaid. I almost feel bad for the guy if he wasn't just getting $30 million over the next 4 years of his life. Generational wealth. But relative to his peers, an insane underpayment. But go Brad Stevens. Lucky us. So the PP insertion, very, very important in this one. Got to feel bad for the Pistons. They won the possession battle in this game, 100 possessions compared to our 99. But Missoula math ball, dude. We just got up so many more threes than the Pistons. At one point, they were I think 1 for 23. They were roughly 6% from three. 6% at the end of the first half. And you could see the scoring disparity was such that even if they were hitting a regular league average clip from three, this would have been basically a blowout anyway. But for it to go down like that for the Pistons, again, speaking about feeling bad for people and things you shouldn't feel bad for, Detroit Pistons added to the feel bad for list. So it was a rough showing from them.
Yeah, I think they were 0 for in the first quarter, 0 for 12, whatever it was. They helped. They definitely contributed to the blowout.
Yeah, man, it was kind of tough to watch. Though that whole first 5 minutes of this game was some of the worst basketball I've seen this season. Nobody could hit a shot. It was just really helter-skelter. But damn, man, the Pistons are not a bad defensive team. They are real. I know the Pistons, they kind of suck. They're not like the Wizards defensively. And to see us without Jason Tatum and without Sam Hauser just absolutely eviscerate them, it's so beautiful. And I think a big part of it is KP looks like back and healthy and comfortable. And like the fact that we can just go to him when Tatum's not out there on a switch, it just feels like cheating. I mean, we were 9 of 17 from short mid range, which is like a ridiculous efficiency. And like, I bet 5 of those were KP. Maybe the 2 more were Luke Cornett, baby, but who was awesome tonight too.
Yeah.
But KP just changes sort of the geometry of the floor for this team without Tatum out there. And like everybody eats off of it. The ball just moves so much easier because he draws so much attention just by like giving it to him.
Yeah, because he knocks. They don't send help initially, and then his touch. He has like an and one. The touch is crazy, man. Like he gets fouled. He has like he gets a wide stance and he like throws it up there. Even if he doesn't get the call, it just sometimes goes in. It reminds me of Jokic, like the soft touch around the basket. Like, you know, Tatum throws up some junk. It's just bouncing like directly into the opposing team's hands most of the time. But like KP's just nestles gently into the basket and in, and then they start sending help. And he was making good passes out of it.
Yeah.
This, like, it was a team performance, man. So one, you don't have Tatum, but 2, Jaylen Brown ends the game with 14 points, and it's not because he was inefficient. He took 12 shots. Like, it's not the most like incredibly efficient night, but still 50% from the field, 1 for 2 from 3. Like that's pretty efficient. But like, not a high usage game from Jaylen.
Right.
And what a spread! There was a point in the game where the top 8 all had somewhere between like 6 and 9 points. No one had broken 10 double figures yet. Some point in the first half, it was just spread the whole way through. And even you look at it now, it's like Jaylen with 14, KP with 19, Derek with 23, Drew with 12, Cornett with 12. I mean, Pritchard, the first team All NBA, is closing it out with the 27 points. But it's truly just like, this team is an unbelievable team.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's so good with KP out there. I'm so thankful to have KP like back on the floor as well. That said, always terrified, like not even just when his feet leave the ground, basically anytime anyone is ever around him, which he obviously operates in the post and in the paint, like he's going to be surrounded by defenders on a regular basis. Never not terrifying, but yeah, like there's this notion of, okay, if our 3 ball isn't going in, then we can just get the ball to KP on the block and let him go to work. And like that element of his game is returning as he finds his rhythm. He was front rimming some of those like turnaround post-up shots, but because they're like dropping in from the Latvian space station at such a advantageous angle, like they still roll in. But then the number one ingredient to like an effective like 3-point high heavy volume 3-point offense is like paint touches and drives, and you just get so many more paint touches with KP down there because it just creates so many advantages. And as you said, Jake, then the help comes, then the kickouts come, and it just like starts stirring the mixture again and getting everything going. It's such a reinvigorating like reinsertion into our lineup to have KP back. Man, I just hope he stays there because he does scare me every day of my life.
Yes.
Dude, he had one where he's like posting up, not quite at the block, somewhere in between the 3-point line and the block, and it's him and Pritchard running a 2-man game. Pritchard throws it to him. KP just catches it in his right hand, doesn't move. The double comes, and then he just like one-hands it, bocce balls it right back to Pritchard for a wide-open 3 that he buries. And it's like that, you can just generate wide-open 3s because that dude exists on the court. And we also have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Like, that shit is so unfair, man. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, the level of creation is unbelievable on this team. Like, but maybe my favorite player of the game, I forget how their pass got to KP, but they were running the Cornett lineup, and KP caught it behind the head pass to Luke Cornett, who then kicked it to Derek White in the corner, who the slump is over for Derek White. But like, that play just completely exemplified what this team looks like night to night, and is just spits in the face of all the haters that are like, the Celtics, all they do is shoot threes. It's like, yeah, they shot 48 threes tonight, but watch the fucking game, dude. They are playing beautiful fucking basketball inside out, playing defense, winning on the margins. And then like, Derek White's knocking down his wide open corner threes to close out some of these beautiful possessions.
Dude, it's so nice to see the shot return for Derek White. I really, the whole team, it was just nice. Like by midway through the second quarter, it was like, oh, sweet. It's one of those games where like all the threes are going down. I can relax now, except for when KP has the ball on the block. But every other situation,
or when he's on
three
defense,
balls, exactly. Or any other time he's on the floor and not sitting on the bench safely over there. But I digress. The 3-ball was going down tonight. It was so good to see just that aspect of our game return. And yes, there's been multiple instances where we've proven. I think we're like 6-1 now in games where we shoot under 33% from three. We've proven large enough sample size we can win when the 3-ball's not going down. But fuck if it isn't just so much more comforting and relaxing to sit back on the couch and watch the C's just like dominate from beyond the 3-point line.
Yeah, we're due for some of these games. And I remember like Steven in the Discord was talking about how in the finals, we only shot like 33% from three. And like for the playoffs as a whole, we didn't really shoot that well. And I'm really looking forward to it swinging back the other way in the postseason on the way to the next title because, man, they earn these percentages. They earn these 42% shooting nights on 48 threes. They have the shooting talent. They create it through the paint touches. Like they should be dominating and blowing teams off the court.
And they have 2 stretch bigs, which like no other team has 2 stretch bigs, especially like not even like, hey, you know, he's Miles Turner. He shoots 36% from 3 on 4 a game. It's like you leave these dudes open, they're shooting like 50% on wide open threes. And KP's trigger is so fast. It's nuts, man. And Al is he's just so good. And he's so money on wide open threes. It's just the perfectly constructed basketball team. And when the shots are going in like tonight, they feel completely unbeatable. And they kind of are when the shots are going in. Yeah.
By the way, less than 20 minutes played for Al Horford tonight. Maybe this is the start of the night. We love to see there's a couple of old heads.
I couldn't believe you hadn't mentioned that yet. I was like, yeah, that's the number right there. He was just... Yeah. Come on out. He was very ground bound today as well. He had that little his one field goal. He has ground bound games and non-ground bound games. He did have that one block on Tobias Harris, which led to the Tobias Harris technical, which Tobias Harris is like the classic player that blames how shit he is on the referees. Like when things start to really go against him, he's like, it's all the referee's fault. It happened last year when he played against the Celtics without Embiid and stuff. He had like a disastrous stretch, which lost them the game. And he's blamed it all on the rest, which was great. But Horford had that one little flip play. He's got under the basket. He's kind of like one hand just flips it and didn't leave the ground, and then does his little old man run back the other way.
I love it.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It's something for us all to aspire to. Look, we've got plenty more to get to. Obviously, we're going to get to some like episode 500 milestone stuff. We're going to talk about the right knee tendinopathy, I think is what Jason Tatum's current ailment is, and the worry scale on that. We'll come back and talk a little bit more about the Pistons game too. But first, a quick word from our friends Jake over at Prize Picks.
That's right, Prize Picks time, baby. Make your holidays bigger and better with Prize Picks. Best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. You can now win up to 200 times your money on Prize Picks. Join now because this holiday season, Prize Picks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million. That's a Peyton Pritchard contract. They're giving away Peyton Pritchard's contract in Pickmas, so get amongst it. Prize Picks offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Darko Tuesdays. Prize Picks discounts select players, projections up to 25% to provide even more value. So I've been saying it over and over again. Just ride Peyton Pritchard, dude. Go more on Peyton Pritchard. I don't know what the number is even up to
ride
at this
the PP.
Point, but I always ride the PP when it's especially in TD Garden. Like the number can't be high enough at this point. It's just go over go more on Peyton Pritchard points. Download the app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
Shout out Prize Picks, shout out the CLNS Media Network for presenting the First to the Floor YouTube show and audio podcast, to which you should subscribe if you haven't already. YouTube doing well, very close to 10K subscribers. If you're watching for the first time, first of all, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Please subscribe to the channel. Help us get to that 10K milestone. Audio pod as well, obviously, would love you to subscribe. If you're not the type of person who likes to sit around watching your podcast in video format, obviously available on all the audio podcast platforms as well. So check us out over there. back to the Pistons game very quickly. I don't know where else you want to go with this, guys. Like, just seems like mid-December game. We shot a bunch of threes. We dominated a poor team. Spoonie, you look like you got something to say.
I do. So there was a lineup tonight that we had not seen yet this season. Partly that's because KP is finally back, but it was the Pritchard, Holiday, Derek White. So the three guards, Jaylen Brown, KP. The three guards had only played 8 possessions all season going in tonight together. They played 4 tonight and were a plus 50 net rating with KP out there.
Jesus.
So I wonder if that's a way, especially if it's Jalen and KP, but I'm thinking like if it's Hauser with those guys, can you just float the offense for like a 4-minute stretch with Pritchard, KP pick and rolls and give some steal rest for both of the Jays at the same time? Because it looked really, really fucking good in like I think a 2 or 3 minute stretch. It was actually right when we kind of blew the game wide open. I think at the end of the third there, those were the guys that were out there. So interesting lineup, shitloads of shooting, extraordinarily switchable with KP's rim protection. I don't know. It was just we hadn't seen it before, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. That's a new one. So we might see it more. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we definitely had to. I like to see a little bit of experimentation from Joe on a night we don't have Tatum, we don't have Hauser. Shout out my mom and my grandma, Nan. I'm like, I'll try and keep the swearing to a minimum here.
I know. I was just thinking that.
Sorry, I just
feel bad for a few of the jokes I made earlier.
But yeah, man. I mean, look, in theory, Pritchard, Derek White, Drew Holiday, Porzingis, and I've forgotten the other person you said that was in that lineup as well there. But yeah, but like, of course, like that lineup should work, man. Mm-hmm. And offensively, it should definitely work. You've got those two guys out there with Derek and Drew spreading the floor. You can just run. You can run it. Derek White, Porzingis actions as well. That's totally fine. And we didn't really talk about Porzingis' defense. Like if you get worried about being a bit small out there, but defensively, his rim protection is out of control. I know it's the Pistons, but man, he completely shut everything off from them. And that's probably why we saw a bunch of Ron Holland threes and like Paul Reed threes, because it's like, well, what's the point of even going in there? Because he was shutting the whole thing down. But yeah, I don't see why that lineup wouldn't work. Like you have a ton of speed defensively, even on the perimeter. All those guys are fighting. We should probably talk about Derek and Drew as well, just a tiny bit, but like maybe specifically Drew. But yeah, I believe in all of the lineups. Okay, all of the lineups that aren't Neemias Queta and Xavier Tillman double big lineups. Those are I pretty much believe in everything. Even all the double big lineups now. We got KP out there, you got Horford out there. They all work. I love it, man. Just bombs away.
Yeah, we have a lot of depth worth celebrating, but like I think the key factor in that lineup you mentioned, Spoonie, is KP, who is like beyond the Jays, the one other sort of world-bending player that we have. We've spent so long, we've gotten used to like kind of only having to have one of the Jays on the court at all times, and KP does definitely provide some relief there, just because he is a unicorn. The fact that he can completely shut down the paint defensively, but then score from literally anywhere beyond the halfway line, which is not the term used in basketball, beyond half court. Thank you. Conflating multiple sports here. Apologies, live on the internet. It's KP is the common denominator there. But you said you wanted to talk about Drew Holiday. I'm very thankful that the Pistons didn't employ the Memphis Grizzlies. Let's just put our big on Drew Holiday and leave him completely the fuck alone defensive strategy, which was very annoying and kind of broke my brain a little bit watching, just to see him get so many wide open threes based on his efficiency last year and not hit essentially any of them. Tonight, pretty efficient Drew Holiday game. Just the 8 attempts from the floor, 50% from the floor, few assists, few rebounds, 1 turnover. So just operating in like that shadow realm again. We used to talk about this with Marcus Smart. Like the best Marcus Smart game was the game where you don't even really notice him that much and just kind of orchestrates in the shadow realm. And I thought we had that from Drew tonight.
Yeah, but the difference is like if you need him to take 17 threes, like one, Marcus is like, this is the best day of my life. I couldn't think of anything better than taking 17 threes. Drew Holiday, I don't think wants to take the 17 threes, but the difference is I was very confident that those were eventually going to start falling. And I think we're starting to notice a little bit of a trend like rest-wise. I'd have to really dig into it, but the Bucks game was was easily his top 2 games of the season, and then he had that back-to-back against the Grizzlies where he just like didn't have it, and then you have a few days off here, and again plays awesome. So I definitely think he needs to be on the Al Horford program, and we've got 2 days off now before the Wizards game. Like, I do not think that that's a real strategy that can be used, leaving Drew Holiday wide open in the corner. I just refuse to believe that's a thing. That was just the Grizzlies admitting they can't guard the Celtics and just hoping the shots didn't go in, and they didn't go in. So I don't think it's real, but it was very nice. I think Drew's given me like quite a bit of confidence lately, just like in the right spots with a bit of rest. The Bucks game especially, but to see him follow it up again tonight after that Grizzlies game makes me feel confident about who we're going to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, man, this is like the perfect Drew Holiday game. Like super efficient, 2 for 4 from 3. And just like moving the ball, hitting the glass. And I thought defensively he was really, really good. Like Cade Cunningham shot 40% from the floor, and Drew was like hounding him for large portions of this game, as was Derek White. And he had some sick finishes on KP, but he missed a lot more than he made when he challenged KP. But Drew was he was the connective piece because Derek had to step up into a larger offensive role. So it's like Drew stepped into Derek's normal role as kind of like the primary secondary ball handler, if that makes sense. I just thought he was like getting in the right spot. They missed him on like 3 cuts too, where he was wide open. So he was just like all over the place, totally in the game, and like made all of the right decisions, only 1 turnover. And that's coming with like seeing a little bit more of the ball without Jason Tatum out there. So like, this is the exact Drew Holiday. If we get this, every game, like we're going to be extraordinarily difficult to beat. I just thought he was so good. Just like a professional game from Drew.
Huge change from our previous very easy to beat team. So if Drew Holiday starts playing well, we could be onto something here.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. What a take.
But yeah. I was going to say, the only thing with Derek White is just like he was in you can't say slump now because it wasn't a slump. It wasn't long enough for him to not be shooting well, but he was in the Memphis game 2 for 7, which isn't even that bad, but he was 0 for 8 in that Milwaukee game, which was one of the most, like, my eyes couldn't really comprehend that it was actually happening just because he's been so money now. And then he was 3 for 11 the game before that. But then tonight, 7 for 12 from 3, doing on like all of the same incredibly ridiculous volume, the dagger shots, all of it. So that's just nice. Like, these guys are going to go through like shooting slumps here and there. It's just much more enjoyable when they're not going through one of those slumps.
One game feels like a slump with Derek White, slump rather, with Derek White because he's so consistent on a regular basis. So good to see him back, shooting well from 3. Jordan Walsh continues to make me sad. Drew Peterson, though, Drew P, I think we should talk about a little bit. Maybe no one has ever asked this beyond like the internal Celtics analytics team. I would love to see, there we go, Littlefoot. I would love to see Drew Peterson's potential assists out of this game because he had a couple of like corker passes out there that unfortunately we weren't able to convert on. But little sneaky playmaking game continues to emerge from Drew Peterson, the shortest tall guy in the history of human beings. Right. Just looks like a little creative player out there with a weirdly long neck. We've talked about it. We won't cover it anymore. But yeah, some promising signs from Drew P in lieu of anything like that from Jordan Walsh, unfortunately.
I'm more excited about Drew Peterson than I am Baylor Shireman, and it's like not close.
Yeah.
He's like got pop athletically with the ball. Like he's not like he's a plus athlete on the ball. He's not great moving side to side defensively, which kind of limits his utility, but that's what makes him a unique prospect compared to like Hauser. Hauser's a little like stronger, probably has a higher definitely has higher defensive upside, but Drew's got some on ball stuff that, man, if the threes start going down and he can consistently get closed out on, he can like do some stuff, man. He had one pass to Luke, I think it was, where he drove baseline and like fitted into a tight window for an easy layup. And it's like, whew, that's like some pretty legit stuff with the ball, man. So I think I declared I was a Drew Peterson guy in preseason. Like, I'm all in on Drew Peterson. I like his game a lot. Who knows if he can defend at a high enough level to play real legitimate minutes, but it's nice that we can like bring him in against Detroit and he's solid for, 10, 12 minutes. It's a luxury for a two-way guy.
Yeah, just welcome to the Dribble Pass Shoot Club.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like with him. And when you're on this team, the job of those ancillary pieces, like that's all it is really. Can you make the right decision? And do you have the capability then to put the ball on the ground and like, can you make some simple plays? That's great. But that play where he drove the closeout and fed the little pass to Luke was legitimately impressive, and he impacted the game. Obviously, he took 3 shots late, but that was all garbage time. Like, he was 0 for 0, I guess, before the garbage time stuff happened, and with like 3 rebounds and the 2 assists. He knows what to do with the ball in his hands, and he has the ability to kind of create a little bit. And yeah, athletically, like a couple nice rebounds, like he soars deep, like high to the sky for some rebounds and stuff. And then he fights, and at least he's in the right position defensively. He's not strong enough or quick enough to really hang at times, but that's okay. He's literally the 11th or 12th man, I think, if we really want to go through like the actual number he's on the roster. He's probably pipped Jordan Walsh at this point. As far as like guys I want to act, if I need him to play and be good, and not a guy I'm just hopeful about, which is not surprising, I guess. Like he is 4 years older, but doesn't mean that I'm not sad about Walsh right now. He airballed a 3, which was unfortunate from the corner, but yeah, look, Walsh hasn't really done this what we wanted him to this year, but Drew Peterson has filled the gaps for us.
Off season, get him on the LeBron James peptide injections. Can we get some of the plasma out of his neck and inject that into the rest of his body so it catches up developmentally?
Yeah.
I know. I'm available for consultation. I always say this. No one ever calls. Shout out to Muzz in the chat. Thank you so much for the super chat and for the call out of the milestone. We really appreciate it. And shout out to everybody in the chat here. We've got a big crew joining us tonight. Really appreciate you all. Also, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button while you're here. Teach the algorithm that the show is good. Hopefully you think so. You're here watching. Let other people know. They'll jump onto the subscriber list as well, and we'll keep this thing growing. But like, I guess a mood change here. Jason Tatum, worry scale, guys. Right patella tendinopathy. I managed to get that out in one attempt. Was I guess the injury classification there from the Celtics. Joe Mazzulla said that Tatum worked out today and is getting better. He worked out yesterday and will work out tomorrow as well. A lot of workouts for a guy with a sore knee, which is usually a good sign. So worry scale 0 through 10. Jake, Spoonie, thoughts?
We'll just shout out Muzz in the chat for the super chat. 500th. Congratulations. Appreciate you, Muzz. Fellow Aussie. Always appreciate you guys. Oh, and there we go. And then
let's go,
Pete in the chat. Appreciate
Legend.
you.
Thanks, Pete.
This beer fund the next time we catch up is going to be overflowing.
Beer fund is growing.
Yeah, which is good and bad. But yeah, man. I would say it's weird. Like it's a different scale, I guess. Like the KP scale spectrum is different to the Jason Tatum scale. Like I want to say 6 on the Tatum scale, because when I saw he was out today, I legitimately like had a pit in my stomach. I could not believe that he was out. I was stunned, floored. This is not something that happens with Jason Tatum. Now, I don't actually think that it's a long-term concern, but I feel like I was taking crazy pills. People were like coming at me on Twitter. I was like, this is like unprecedented. For Jason Tatum to have 4 days off and then not play is the first time in his career that something like that has happened. And that doesn't mean that that's not a good thing. Like in the playback we were talking about, it would not surprise me if this has happened before and he's just typically played through it. The difference is now he's 26 and he's played a lot of basketball and they're like, please, can you just not play? And this time he's saying, okay.
I'm at an 11. I think this is a disaster. Now, yeah, I think I'm with you, Jake. Like, I was shocked that he didn't play tonight. And, you know, whenever Tatum shows up on the injury report, I always just assume it's fake. And they're just like, maybe we'll rest him, maybe we won't. And then Tatum maniacally screams until, like my child, until that he gets what he wants, and that's to play basketball. But I'm probably at like a 3 or 4. But part of me is like, just sit him against the Wizards too, and just like get him 2 weeks off. Why not? Like this 2 weeks off in the middle of an NBA season is like basically unprecedented. So like we might as well take advantage of it. And it's the Wizards. But I mean, I will certainly be watching for this to crop up. Like if this shows up again in like 3 weeks, I will start to get really worried that maybe it's like a recurring thing and it might need surgery or something to correct it. Who knows? But so I'm at a 3, maybe a 4 right now.
I think tendinopathy is just an overuse thing. Everyone that plays basketball in the NBA has tendinopathy all over their body. And it's just like about managing it. I do wonder if it's like everyone else is healthy right now. And the schedule for the next, basically till Christmas, at least opponent-wise, is very, very light. It's like Wizards, Bulls. It's gross. Like, you know, I can understand people not watching the Celtics if you're not a Celtics fan. Like, it's not impressive. But then January, February is intense from an opponent perspective. It's as intense as it's going to get in the Eastern Conference. Like, to start January, you've got Thunder, Nuggets, Timberwolves, Rockets, or I probably got the order completely wrong there, but you've got those 4 is like that's a road trip. And right now, everyone else is healthy. So it's like Tatum's probably going to be the one carrying us through the other stretches when we're resting Al, we're resting KP, we're resting Drew. So it actually makes sense to rest him now for that stretch when he's going to have to be Mr. Iron Man and carry us through.
Yeah, which is why I'm at like a 2. And normally I'm the alarmist who freaks out about injury, but I just think like it's a continuation of last year, right? And the ultimate goal is to win a second championship, to repeat. But it's not a go around again. It's not a second lap. It's not, let's look at how many games he played last December and compare and contrast from there. It's like he played all those miles, all those games, the Olympics. He basically hasn't stopped playing basketball since the beginning of last season. He needs to stack up rest when he can find it. And I think the fact that he is on board with that is a huge sign for the longevity of him as a player and like the team's success, even beyond the affordability of this lineup as well. So huge success, huge milestone for the Celtics organization to be able to get Jason Tatum to sit these games. And what a consolation prize, by the way. I know we've talked about it on the Patreon pod, by the way. Subscribe to the Patreon. That the consolation prize for losing the very unserious, very uncool NBA Cup is to be able to play 2 of the worst teams in the world, in the history of the game, back to back, while Jason Tatum, and hopefully maybe we get a JB or a KP rest in the next game as well. Or maybe even an L rest would be nice.
This is the biggest problem with the NBA Cup by so far. It is exponentially. I like said it was like 0.5% better for the Celtics to not be in the Cup. It's like probably legitimately 3 or 4 or 5% better to not have to play more intense games, squished closer together. You get 4 days off and then 2 days off while playing the Pistons and the Wizards. Like, so valuable. So valuable in the middle of the season.
And it's extra travel, too. Like, you might have to go to Vegas and, you know, now we go to Washington. Like, you know, that's not a big deal compared to flying out to Vegas. So it's a boon for the Celtics to not have to play in the NBA Cup. And it's nice to just watch the more intense sort of playoffy games when we're not involved, and I'm not living and dying by it either. So I'm very glad they got knocked out.
Absolutely. All right. So I think collectively on average, the scale was at about a 4 or a 5, I think. I didn't mentally document all the numbers, but it's relatively low-ish. Collectively, semi-unworried.
Tatum's scale, though. Like, if this happened to KP, it'd be like an 8.
It starts at a 10 with KP.
Yeah,
it's
you know
like,
what I mean?
Always perpetually freaking out. Yes, even when he's healthy. We're going to come back in a moment and finish up the show just by reminiscing about the last 500 episodes and talk some podcast, meta podcast stuff. But first, a quick word, Spoonie, from our friends over at Game Time.
Game time. There's nothing better than getting to a big football game early, hitting the tailgate, meeting up with some friends, and watching some of the best players in the world play some football. I managed to score some tickets to a Pats-Bengals game many moons ago, and I'll never forget watching one of the NFL's greatest quarterbacks, Andy Dalton, play some football. There's no better way to grab tickets to a football game or any event than Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. WVU basketball, we're on our way back. We're relevant again, 7-2, 2 big ranked wins in the last couple weeks. So you better believe I'll be on Game Time for tickets to go see the Coliseum and DeVries's boys whoop the Big 12 this year. They're playing Saturday at 4. I might be in the building for that one thanks to Game Time. You just hop on the app, search for the game or team you're looking for. It's super easy. And then you're shown all the available tickets and all the best deals right on your phone. The curated deals make it even easier to find the best seats at the best prices. And maybe my favorite feature is the seat view. It'll show you exactly what it looks like from any seat before you buy. And before you buy, toggle on the all-in pricing and you won't be hit with any surprise fees at checkout. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem a code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time.
Game Time is like legitimately an awesome platform as well.
It's great.
In terms of just like finding well-priced seats easily, quickly, and then use that code CLNS to get $20 off your first purchase as well. So definitely check out Game Time. Use that code CLNS. Show our network partners and sponsors that we're worthy of their business. That'd be great. Okay, episode 500. Haven't really got anything in the run sheet here, guys. Just thought we could do quick around the room. I think with a podcast like ours, where it's like not so much episodic, it's like it's evergreen. It's about a thing that just happened, and then the next game happens, and the past show kind of gets thrown in the bin. So 500 episodes for us is a little bit different. It's not like, okay, go back and check out the back catalog. It's just you've just joined, hopped on the train at some point and come along on the ride with us. And if you have, we thank you. But I suppose a good place to start this is like, I think I might know the answer to this. Favorite podcast memory, favorite memory associated with the podcast. It could be someone you met along the way, a guest we had on, something we did together. But Spoonie, I'll throw to you first.
I think it's got to be title night, right? Ooh. I mean, chugging the champagne, shedding a few tears, having fun with the boys. My buddy Rafi got on the stream, hammered drunk, unable to coherently form a sentence. We were live for like 6 hours, man. And it was just a celebration the whole time. And it was just awesome, man. And like, I wish I could go back and like taste that again and crank that champagne one more time. And maybe we will this year, but like the first one with all of us on the pod, it's going to be special. And it was just an awesome night, man. And I think about it sometimes. It just brings a smile to my face. It was great.
Yeah, that's a great one. I thought you were going to go Summer League. Because I think
that Summer League's probably 2.
Yeah. I mean, you can't really go. And I'll shout out Jackson in the chat here. OG member of the Celtics Reddit podcast from 2017, 18? When was it then?
2018. The Kyrie year.
The Kyrie.
First one.
Yeah. Which makes sense why he needed to start a podcast, because like what a confounding, so many thoughts season. But yeah, Jackson, absolute legend. But yeah, like I think Summer League has to be mine. I mean, title night, you can't go past title night. Like we'd been through some fucking tough moments, man. Like I know other fans don't want to hear it. Oh, you made the finals. Oh, you made the conference finals. Like, dude, it's brutal to get so close year after year, and you start to figure out how difficult it is to actually win a title. Like when you lose to the Warriors, you kind of feel like, okay, we made the finals. We'll be back. But then you go back the next season, it's just like fucking Brogdon hurts his forearm, and like Caleb Martin goes devil magic mode, and you got to start the entire season all over again. Al Horford's going to be 38. Like these things are just never guaranteed. And so now to go through all of that and have the title and to have gone through all of that with you guys, everybody in the chat, like the emotions are real. And for it to all explode on title night was awesome. But Summer League, all of us in the together at the same time in person for the first time was just so much fun. Like and like going into it, I was like, man, hope I like hanging out with these guys.
Right.
Very risky at the time.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of checks out like hundreds of hours of podcasting, translated relatively well, especially like in the context of going to a basketball, what is essentially a festival for 3 days, and drinking and hanging out with the rest of the Boston media. So that was so much fun. So that's probably mine.
That was surreal. Yeah, I'll add to that, like meeting Greeny at the Thomas and Mack Center, and him being like, "Let's all get in my car and go back to your hotel room studio and do a pod together." Like, okay, Dan Greenberg of Barstool Sports with 150,000 Twitter followers. Let's do that with you. That would be amazing. One of my, like, maybe the oldest good memories, random one, is doing an episode of the Celtics Reddit podcast from an onsen in Japan. Shout out Jackson. I think he did that episode with me remotely. Shout out to Jackson and Joe as well, who I think were full time on the first, I want to say like 250-ish episodes. Might have been a little bit less than that, but absolutely like laying the groundwork and the foundation in the initial building of the audience, and like, I guess, figuring out the identity of this podcast as well. So shout out to those guys who I know we wanted to get them on the show tonight, but we have jobs and I should get back to mine soon. Speaking of that, so they weren't able to join us, but shout out to those guys as well. Yeah, I just mentioned like the lack of evergreenness of our episodes, but like I would definitely recommend go back and watch the shows we did on Championship Night, like you said, Spoonie, because they are kind of evergreen, just our ridiculous reactions. I've never been so wasted like live publicly on the internet than that night. Probably never will be again unless we win again this year. But like doing that with you guys and going through that with you guys, but also everyone who's sort of jumped on the bandwagon along the way, and shout out to the Discord as well. When we were doing that episode, I was 1000% sitting alone in my attic in my house, but really mentally felt like I was sitting in a room with like 1,000 of my friends going through that at the same time. And that is, more than any sort of ad revenue or any sort of notoriety or getting high profile guests on the show. Like, I think that aspect of it is by far the best quality of the show. Going from like, I've got, like you said, Jake, like, why did you start the show in 2018? I had so many thoughts about the Celtics that I needed to get off my chest and no one to shout them to. And now it feels like we just have this boundless, endless community of people to echo those thoughts around. So that's been amazing.
Yeah,
man.
Go ahead, Spoonie.
I was just gonna say, like, how I got connected was I just started writing for fun under a pseudonym of a soccer player pun name, and like the fact that we're here, we're approaching 10,000 subscribers. Like, we have a very active Discord where we just like talk hoops and random stuff with all these really awesome, knowledgeable people. And it's honestly surreal to me. Like, I don't know. It's just really awesome. And I'm really appreciative that people give a shit what we have to and what I have to say about basketball, and that people are willing to support us. And it's like really humbling and just kind of a really unique experience that I'd never thought in a million years I'd ever get to experience.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. I feel like that's become kind of our lane, is like we're not trying to be like objective analysts, like we are, but really we're just emotional fans at the end of the day.
Yeah. And
that's why we resonate with everybody that's here right now, and why you guys in the chat resonate with us. And yeah, there's been a couple of drunk moments as well, like Fireball Jake in the chat, he's getting some mentions.
It's good stuff.
I think that was the trade deadline. I'm trying to remember because it was like early in the morning.
Me and you did like an hour and a half, and then you went and did like another hour by yourself on Fireball.
This is all before like 10 a.m. as well.
Yeah. I just remember being like, what am I supposed to do now? It's like 10 a.m. And so that was awesome. And then that reminded me of Spoonie. I don't remember exactly what you had been doing beforehand, but the Boston accent, the wicked pisser kid, that was
Bobby.
I don't remember either.
Like, bro, I watched that. Like, when I clipped that and I made it, I just laughed for like the entire hour it took me to like put it together. I just watched it over and over and over. It was awesome, man.
So funny.
I was gonna say if any episodes or moments come to mind, shout them out. But like the Grant Williams' dad episode, like he could only do it it was what ended up being at like 4 or 5 a.m. my time, which meant that Joe Tiddy was also able to do it because it was like 7 a.m. in New Zealand. And like that was early when I joined the pod and just podding in general. I just remember being so nervous at like 5 a.m. ready to talk to like Grant Williams' dad. Yeah. And it ended up being like an incredible episode because he's like similar to Grant Williams. He's a performer, and it was awesome. Like I think we found he bodyguarded for Prince and like all this kind of stuff. It was great.
Derek White's dad as well. Like we continue to try with Celtics PR and various agencies to get players on this show, and that's definitely a goal for the upcoming 500 episodes. But look, if you are a Boston Celtic, we will get your dad on this podcast. It seems that is at least a ceiling that we've reached already. Yeah, or mom, whoever, family members in general, we're coming for you in the best way possible. But yeah, well, like you said, Jake, if you've got a favorite memory or episode or moment from the show, let us know in the live chat now. Definitely let us know in the comments on YouTube or on Spotify as well. I think we can leave it there, but guys, here's to the next 500. I hope we get another chance to do some more in-person shows as well. I would love to we'll go back to Spoony in a sec. I would love to do Vegas again and not get absolutely blasted on night one and spend the rest of the time basically in recovery. So that's definitely a goal for the next 500 too.
That's definitely, because we just
ascended
went
too
so
early.
hard, so fast, like goodness gracious. If I ever meet up, we'll tell some more of those details on the Patreon probably at some point that I shouldn't be sharing in front of my grandmother right now probably.
Yes,
but
good call.
man, like just like build into it as opposed to like crater from the top like a meteor. Spoony is like, nah, don't be soft.
We're going skydiving, boys.
Skydiving.
Hell yeah.
Go ahead.
Get
Spoony.
some IV drips.
I was just going to say, it's great. I've been here for probably around 250 episodes. One man has been here for 500, and that is Ben Vallis, who does a shitload of the work to make this show look awesome, sound awesome, and spends way more time on underrated plays to make that come out. And I think that's probably our best content, or at least our best short-term content. So Ben, thank you, dude, for all the shit you do and how you make the show so fucking awesome.
These graphics, dude.
Yeah, look, this shit is so professional. It's absolutely ridiculous. So appreciate you letting me to continue to be on the show into 500 more, baby.
Appreciate it, guys. That means a lot. And you guys been carrying the show. Honestly, I started this new job and I've been off the scene. So you guys, we talked about establishing an identity, and you guys have been carrying that forward and doing an amazing job at it. So shout out to you guys. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Shout out to everyone who's ever had any involvement with this show, really. And we've had an amazing list of guests on this show over the years as well. Peter Hellier is maybe the most random one that comes to mind. The first time we made the finals.
Aussie comedian,
very famous Aussie comedian that I grew up watching on TV. I was like, yeah, I'll come on your show. But anyway, maybe that's a talk for episode.
Right, Eric Weiss.
Yeah. Thank you,
Shout
Eric.
out to Eric Weiss. Absolutely. Look, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for joining us. Here's to the next 500 episodes. Shout out to everyone watching and listening. We love you guys. Jake, Spoony, love your work. Until next time, go Celts.